or you're not ruling out the possibility of military intervention and therefore military confrontation between NATO allies?
I think Europe would be in a stronger position if they didn't have to rely so much on the US for helping them with Ukraine. But given that Europe is already fighting a war on its eastern front, having something open up on its northwestern front is going to be extra pressure on the bloc to both work with Trump and also fight against him at the same time, which is quite schizophrenic in this international relations sphere we have today. So the Europe really needs to think now, what can it do to deter this? Because the measures that it has in place is more likely to have Trump do something more extreme on top to fight these measures that Europe is thinking of imposing. So what Europe wants to do is effectively sanction in these ways Trump for his actions. But I don't think this is going to change the picture in the slightest for President Trump. He has had his eye set on Greenland from the first day he got into power, but he's had other things on his mind, other policy objectives to achieve. And now it's Greenland's turn to take center stage for him. So he's obviously operating on rules which isn't agreed upon by his counterparts in Europe, but it's really in the court of Europe as to what they do next. But anything they do, I think, will escalate this.
Which is, absolutely right when you say that now the ball is, of course, in the European Union's court. But do you think that the EU can stand up to America? Do you think that the European Union has it in them to economically and militarily stand against the United States of America and Donald Trump?
In short, no, because over the last 40-odd years, Europe's success in its commerce, in its defense, and in its innovation has come in a large part from the United States. They sell into the United States more than they sell into any other market apart from its own. And they rely on the US for defense. They work with US technology partners, and a lot of US firms employ European workers in different sectors. And they are protected, and they are in line with the US agenda on the world, at least until the last few months. So because they've entangled themselves so much and been more of a recipient of US progress as opposed to it being on an equal basis, they are going to find it very difficult to stand up against him, because what can they do that doesn't hurt them, number one, but hurts the United States as well? That is an equation that never works out well, because they haven't developed themselves independently of the US in any major way over the last 40-odd years. So this entanglement has led them to being such close partners, but this also has caused them to be at big risk, because Trump has a very different view on world affairs than his past administrations, and this is going to cause a lot of pressure for the Europeans moving forward.
So it's almost like a wake-up call for Europe as well, who've been, stagnant economies since the past few years. But if there is a potential trade war between Europe and America, how do you think consumers like you and I would be impacted?
No, it's not going to be good, is it? I mean, it's quite easy maths if you think about the equations. If there are barriers to trade in any given way, then the end consumer is the one that suffers. Inflation goes up in different ways. Unemployment potentially also increases. That means interest rates have to be changed. That means the whole forecast for a country's economic viability in 2026, 27 is going to change. And this is all dependent upon what measures each party takes in this, and not to consider a third actor or a sort of a black swan event or circumstance that can arise in this whole coalition of confusion, I think you'd call it. Because right now it's the US and Europe, but as things go down into the future, maybe with such focus that Europe is paying on both sides of its continent, there could be an opportunity to take advantage of Europe on a third side. So Europe is really at risk here. Their people are at risk, and the economic viability and sustainability of Europe's growth is also at risk.
All right, we'll leave it there.